Thanks for tuning back in to the Conservation Podcast here at the Pike County Conservation District. My name is Emily. I'm the Communications Coordinator here. And today our guest is one of our very own staff members here at the district, our Watershed Specialist, Rachael Marques. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about microplastics and what that means for our surface waters here in Pike County. All right, I'm here with Rachael Marques, who is our Watershed Specialist at the district. Hi, Rachael. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Emily. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so what do you do as the Watershed Specialist for a conservation district?
Yeah, so great question, Emily. I'm lucky that I get to do a lot of different things here at PCCD. Primarily, what I do right now is coordinate the surface water monitoring program for the county each year, and that's pretty much just looking at our streams and rivers in Pike County, which are almost all exceptional value and high quality. And we look at stuff like macroinvertebrates, which are stream bugs. We look at the different fish species in the stream. We do some chemistry, and we also look at the habitat. So it's a very comprehensive way to look at the stream health in Pike County. And we're very lucky that we have these high quality waters.
Yeah, I know we've got more high quality and exceptional value streams than most of the rest of the state, which is pretty awesome. And we want to work to keep it that way. And I really enjoy getting to go out with Rachael to help with those stream monitoring programs with the bug and fish sampling. That is super fun.
Yeah, I also get to do a lot of other work, including some groundwater monitoring, since Pike County is dependent upon groundwater for all of our drinking water and the water that comes into our homes. And that's in collaboration with the United States Geological Survey, which is pretty neat. That's a great partner to work with. And I get to do a lot of outreach as well to the public by going to events and doing educational programs. So I get to do a lot of cool stuff, and there's a lot of variety. No day is the same, so it's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you wind up here at the district? And what drew you to Pike County Conservation District, but also to the Watershed Specialist position?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a bit of a long story for me. So I did go to Kutztown University of Pennsylvania for a degree in ecology I graduated in 2017. And I did a lot of internships just to see what I was interested in the biology field. It's pretty broad. And I did a lot of seasonal work for the Forest Service and the National Park Service. And so I kind of knew that I loved field work and I was passionate about the environment. And in the end, I also knew that I wanted to move back to the area that started my passion for the outdoors back in the beginning. So I grew up in Wayne County and Pike County, and I ended up coming back here and being the Watershed Specialist. I love conservation districts and the work that they do, so I'm really happy that I can finally be a part of one. And being the Watershed Specialist here is great for me because, like I said, it's a mix of things. No day is the same, and there's a really good mix of working with the public and also field work and grant applications and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, we're really glad to have you here at the district and all of the wonderful things that you do. So we had said that we're really lucky to have some very clean streams here in Pike County. But one of the contaminants that you might find here or elsewhere is called a microplastic. So can you talk a little bit more about what a microplastic is?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of us who haven't heard of the rising microplastic issue, it's a big rising concern in the environmental community. And a microplastic is really just a piece of plastic that is less than 5 millimeters in size, which is kind of hard to visualize. But that's about 1/4 of an inch or close to the size of like a pencil eraser. So anything that size or smaller would be considered a microplastic.
Okay, so just pieces of plastic that are very small, 1/4 of an inch or less.
Mm-hmm.
So where do these microplastics come from?
In general, a lot of the microplastics are just coming from the breakdown of larger plastic items. So plastics don't really biodegrade or decompose like some organic materials like a banana peel or something like that. Instead, they just continue to break down into smaller and smaller pieces, and that's how we end up getting the fragments that we call microplastics. So they can come from a variety of things like plastic water bottles, And even some things that I hadn't considered when I started looking into microplastic, fibers from synthetic fabrics like polyester, those are even microplastics and sources of microplastics in the environment.
Yeah, and sometimes, like you mentioned, the fibery microplastics from polyester and fleeces, those can even come out of our washing machines, right, with that wastewater.
Yeah, it's something that those are of a size that you can't really see with your naked eye, but still considered a microplastic, and something that I hadn't really considered as a source until I started looking into it further.
Yeah, so microplastics can come from a lot of different places, and they end up in a lot of different places too, right?
Yeah, because of the different fragment sizes and things like the fleece fibers, they have ended up almost everywhere around the globe, even places far from the human society and human influence. So they're so small sometimes that they can be transported even through the air and through water. And of course, we've all seen the Pacific garbage patch and stuff like that. So of course, there's a lot of plastics in that area, but also things, again, like fibers that have been transported through the air as well.
Yeah, so there's lots of ways then for those microplastics to end up in our environment. So in our streams, in our oceans, and once they get there, they can be pretty hard to remove, right? So how can they disturb an ecosystem?
Microplastics can definitely disturb an ecosystem. So most notably, we've seen a lot in the scientific community that different animals have begun ingesting microplastics. So microplastics are small and they're colorful. They're floating on the surface of the water, they're on the ground. So a lot of different animals like birds and other organisms think it's a piece of food. Unfortunately, these plastic pieces don't have any nutritional value, and they also give the animal an illusion of having a full stomach. So it can be detrimental for the survival of a lot of organisms like birds. They've even found microplastics in small organisms like our macroinvertebrates, which is kind of shocking to me. But they can also bioaccumulate up into the food chain, because when small organisms like our macroinvertebrates and our fish are consuming these microplastics, something like a bald eagle can accumulate microplastics in its system without directly ingesting them from the environment.
Right, and then if that bald eagle were to eat a bunch of those fish that had all had microplastics, then it's getting lots and lots of microplastics into its system. So definitely a concern for our ecosystems, and these plastics are coming from a lot of the plastics that we use in our everyday life, right? So what are some ways that we can all try to reduce these microplastics from getting into the ecosystem?
Yeah, there are a lot of different options. For me personally, sometimes it feels like plastics are kind of everywhere and a little bit unavoidable. But I think each person can do a couple easy things to reduce their individual consumption of plastic products and reduce the microplastics in the environment. So for example, one thing that I try to do is just overall be vigilant and try to reduce my purchase of things that are packaged in plastic, though it can't totally be avoided. And things like single-use plastic bottles. So I have a reusable stainless steel bottle that I can refill, and that's a really good way, if you have a way to refill it, to replace a single-use plastic bottle. And those are becoming more and more available to the public, and they're becoming cheaper and easier to find for people, which is great. Even according to a model I found from 2019 from Reuters, 1 million plastic water bottles are sold every minute on our planet. So I think that's one thing, at least for the individual, that can have a big effect. Hopefully, if we buy less plastic bottles, the demand will lower and hopefully less will be produced. I also try to bring my reusable bags with me to most stores if I can. Of course, I'm not the perfect person, and we all forget them at home, or
yeah, definitely.
Exactly. So even though I do try to do that, sometimes if I do forget my bag, if I do end up getting a plastic bag at the store, I'll keep it so that I end up reusing it for another purpose. So at least it's not being a single use, and I keep it for bringing my lunch to work or something like that. At least it's getting used multiple times.
Yeah, those are both great ideas. And like you had mentioned, clothes are another place that we find plastics that I think aren't as obvious really as things like plastic bottles and plastic bags, but polyester and other synthetic fabrics are made from plastics. So also taking note when you're purchasing new clothing material, checking the tags, seeing what it's made of, and if it's made from a natural source like cotton or wool as opposed to one of those synthetic fibers. When it goes through the washing machine, all those little pieces can come off, and then that goes into the wastewater that comes out of the machine. So something else to keep note of as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely am also paying more attention to avoiding those quote unquote fast fashion industry, and just really appreciating the clothing items that I do have, even if they are made out of polyester or fleece, at least reducing my consumption in the market of those items and really enjoying what I do have. And even if I do need something else, maybe thrifting it instead of buying new because it's already made. And again, decreasing the market demand for those types of items.
Yeah, definitely. Those are some great things as well. So, in addition to trying to reduce microplastics in our ecosystems, we're also trying here at the district to kind of get a grasp on what the microplastic scenario is in our county. So can you tell us a little bit about the grant funding that the district recently received to do a study for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had put in a grant application for a PA Department of Environmental Protection Environmental Education grant, or as we like to call it, a DEP-EE grant. So that funding actually comes from a portion of the state collected pollution fines and penalties that they collect throughout the year. And then they're required to use some of that money for educational efforts within the state of Pennsylvania. So we here at Pike County Conservation District are fortunate to have received a small grant from that fund to coordinate a county level microplastics awareness project. And with that, it's going to be focused, of course, on some HQ or high quality and some EV or exceptional value streams, because that's what we have here in Pike County. So our study is based off of a Penn Environment study, and that's something that we had been lucky enough to participate in previous years. So that study had focused statewide on high quality and exceptional value streams. And again, we're lucky enough here in Pike County to have almost all high quality and exceptional value streams. So there was a lot of interest from the community when we had first participated. We only did 1 or 2 streams at that time. And I worked with Penn Environment to see how they had done the study in their own capacity and if it could be replicated here for Pike County residents specifically. And thankfully, it was easy enough that it could be replicated here in Pike County, and we're looking forward to moving on with that and seeing what we find.
Yeah, definitely excited to see how this study goes, and we definitely want to get people from our community involved too. So we're looking for public input. So Rachel, how can people get involved in this microplastic study?
Great question, Emily. So we're looking for community participation, like Emily said. What we want is for Pike County residents to get curious about their local waterway. Look at a stream in their backyard and wonder, what's going on there? What's going on in my stream? What can I find here? And it could be a waterway on an individual's own private property or somewhere in the public realm, as long as we can get permission to access the stream. So places like Promised Land State Park, maybe we could get permission or something like that if people were interested. But there is a fillable form that we've created online, and you could find that on our website, where you can fill out a couple questions and submit that to have your waterway be considered for studying. And you can also call our office or email me, Rachael Marques, at rmarks@pikepa.org, or call our office at 570-226-8220. Sorry, I said that really fast. So you can call our office or email me, and I could talk you through the process or gather information from you. Again, Our office number is 226-8220, and my email is rmarks@pikepa.org. So either one of those, or finding our online form, which Emily has been great about sharing on our social media and in our newsletters, would work for me, and I would definitely reach out if I had any further questions.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. And that form on our website, it's under the news tab, so you could find that. It's in there with a bunch of our news articles, so that's where you can find the form and fill that out right on our website. So once we collect samples from the stream and analyze them and get all that data, where and when can people find the results of this study?
Yeah, so we're currently accepting waterway recommendations from the public until late December of this year, so 2024. The goal with that time frame is to be sampling and analyzing those samples by the end of February 2025. So I'm hoping that we can present the results in a public presentation in March of 2025, and that date is to be determined based on when we can get all of our results and put a nice report together in PowerPoint for everybody. And I just want to note that those results are going to be a presence-absence type of result on whether or not there are microplastics in the water sample that we take. And I'm hoping to get some good pictures of microplastics as well in that, so hopefully people can have a little more context for the size and the diversity of shape and look on these microplastic fragments.
Yeah, so that'll be a really cool program that you can come and learn about the results of this study, see some pictures. We don't have a date yet, but like Rachel said, it'll be in the spring, hopefully March. And you can find an exact date, location, time, all that good stuff closer to that. In the spring, we'll be posting it on our Facebook, Instagram, in our monthly newsletter, all that good stuff. So Rachel, if people are interested in learning more about microplastics than what we covered today, are there some other resources that you could share?
Absolutely. So I would definitely recommend the NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as a good source for a lot of information about microplastics. Their sources are mostly focused on the ocean pollution of microplastics, but a lot of that really carries over into some of the freshwater resources that we do have here. I'd also recommend the United States Geological Survey does have a really cool study that I found online on microplastics as well, and where they've been found in the United States. And the EPA does have a good page on more ways that you can reduce plastic waste as a consumer in the United States. So I definitely recommend looking into those things, and if you were looking for a little bit more education. And of course, attending our results presentation in March of 2025.
Yeah, those all sound like really great resources. I'll have to check them out myself. Is there anything else that you want to share?
I'm really looking forward to the results and the public participation for this microplastic study. So please, if you have any questions, reach out to me or reach out to the Conservation District, and we'd love to try to answer as best we can. And also, like I had said at the beginning, a lot of what I do also involves some of our surface water monitoring, and that report will hopefully be out for 2024 at the end of the year or at the beginning of 2025. So keep your eyes peeled for those results as well, and we look forward to continuing that into 2025.
All right, great. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Conservation Podcast here at Pike County Conservation District. If you enjoyed this episode and want to find more, you can find past episodes and new episodes. Our Season 2 episodes will be released monthly starting January 2024 on our website, pikeconservation.org, under the Education tab, or on Spotify. To stay in touch with us and find out more about our upcoming events, newly released podcast episodes, and tips and tricks for conservation at home, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and sign up for our email monthly newsletter, which you can find the sign up link at the bottom of our website, pikeconservation.org. Thanks for listening.